August 2021. The world watched Afghanistan unravel in real time. Images of desperate Afghans clinging to US planes haunted us all. For 20 years we'd heard about nation building and leaving with honor. But what we saw was chaos, a retreat, not a victory. It all traced back to the Doha Agreement, signed in 2020 under President Trump. The deal basically stated that US troops would exit, and the Taliban would promise to keep out terrorists and talk peace. The Afghan government was left out of the negotiations, a risky bet. President Biden inherited the deal and delayed the withdrawal to August 31st, 2021. Washington believed the Afghan army, 300,000 strong, would hold the line. We gave them weapons and training, assuming they'd have the will to fight. That was the fatal miscalculation. The entire exit plan hinged on the Afghan government surviving, at least for a while. Experts hoped for a decent interval, enough time to avoid blame for collapse. But hope isn't a strategy. In Afghanistan, reality was about to deliver a harsh lesson. The stage was set for disaster. The world braced for what came next. The White House projected confidence. President Biden assured the public the Afghan army could defend itself, saying that a Taliban takeover was not inevitable. But intelligence reports told a different story. Corruption, ghost soldiers, and a force dependent on US support. Warnings poured in. The Afghan army was crumbling from within. A dissent cable from US diplomats in Kabul warned of a rapid Taliban advance and urged faster evacuations. These warnings were largely ignored. As US forces left key bases, Afghan soldiers felt abandoned and surrendered by the masses. Provincial capitals fell without a fight. The Taliban launched a lightning offensive, seizing major cities in days. The 20-year project collapsed like a house of cards. The world watched, stunned. The narrative of a clean exit was shattered. The reality, chaos and collapse. The consequences were immediate. August 15th, 2021. The Taliban entered Kabul without resistance. President Ghani fled. The government vanished overnight. The speed of the collapse stunned the world. Panic gripped Kabul as the Taliban took control. For millions, especially women and those who worked with Americans, terror returned. The US embassy was evacuated, the flag lowered for the last time. The only escape, Hamid Karzai International Airport. Thousands rushed the gates, desperate for a flight out. Scenes of chaos, people flooding runways, clinging to planes, risking everything. The evacuation was frantic and flawed. US troops worked around the clock, but there was no clear plan, no priority list, just chaos. We had planned the troop withdrawal, but not the evacuation of our people or allies. The world saw the cost of failed planning, an embarrassing moment for the United States. Abbey Gate became the epicenter of desperation. Thousands of Afghans waited for days, hoping for salvation. Young Marines faced impossible choices, who to let through, who to leave behind. Intelligence warned of an imminent ISIS attack. The US Embassy urged Americans to leave, but for many there was nowhere else to go. On August 26th, the suicide bomber struck. The blast and ensuing gunfire killed at least 170 Afghans and 13 US service members. The Abbey Gate bombing was a tragic exclamation point on the withdrawal. It exposed failures in intelligence, security, and leadership. 13 Americans died trying to save others in the final hours of a lost war. Their sacrifice marked the bitter end. The fallout was swift and global. America's allies felt betrayed, trust in US leadership shaken. NATO unity was fractured. The world questioned America's reliability. At home, President Biden's approval ratings plummeted. The images from Kabul became a defining moment of his presidency. Thousands of Afghan allies were left behind, breaking America's promise. The Taliban, now armed with US equipment, ruled a country in crisis. China and Russia seized the moment to undermine US credibility. For veterans, the collapse was deeply personal, a painful reckoning. Blame was spread across 4 presidents and 2 decades. Afghanistan was a bipartisan failure of strategy and understanding. The real question, have we learned anything at all? Only time will tell. This has been fascinating war history. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Thank you for watching.